Senator, are you there?
I hear something.
Senator
Was
Blunt?
that not me?
That is you.
Yes.
You are on the air on the Big 550 KTRS. Good morning, and thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be with you.
You betcha.
I was in St. Louis yesterday, and the weather was great. Is it similar today?
It is going to be a little bit chillier. It's going to be 54, but yeah, we're in a nice little pattern. This weekend, it's going to be gorgeous.
54, the middle of February, yeah. I think we can tolerate that for a few more days.
Absolutely. You were scheduled to be on the show to talk about a number of things, but with this news of Michael Flynn resigning as National Security Advisor, what are your thoughts as you sit and watch what's going on?
Well, I know him. I've been on the Senate Intel Committee for quite a while, and he was the director of Defense Intelligence at one time. So he served the country well and for a long time. But, you know, you need to be truthful in whatever job you have. And the National Security Advisor, of all the people that work with and for the president, has to be absolutely trustworthy and truthful. And apparently he wasn't, and he'll pay the price for that. You know, to some extent, McGraw, every White House has a shakedown cruise. Everybody thinks that job is easy, and they're like the first people that ever figured it out before they get there, only to find out that it is a really tough place to be at the top of the pinnacle, and everything below you is moving around all the time. And so this is sort of the first change, and won't be the last change this year either, I wouldn't think. But I think particularly in this case, absolute trustworthiness is the most important thing, even more important than knowledge. You've got to trust what the National Security Advisor says, and apparently that wasn't going to be the case here.
Bigger picture, we're hearing from a lot of conservatives out there that they are somewhat worried about these Russian rumors, the Russian stories, the friendliness between Russia and either Michael Flynn or the administration. How worried are you, and do you think there should be some type of investigation to find out exactly what type of connections there are?
I think everybody needs that investigation to happen, and the Senate Intelligence Committee, again, that I serve on, has been given the principal responsibility to look into this, and I think we should look into it exhaustively, so at the end of this process, nobody wonders whether there was a stone left unturned, and shouldn't reach conclusions before you have the information that you need to have to make those conclusions. But the Senate Intelligence Committee is looking at this. I would think we should talk to General Flynn very soon, and that should answer a lot of questions. What did he know? What did he do? And is there any reason to believe that anybody else knew that and didn't take the kind of action they should have taken?
So are you're saying some type of Senate investigation then?
Oh, there is. I mean, our committee, the Senate Intelligence Committee, has been tasked by the majority leader to look into this. The vice chairman, Democrat from Virginia, Mark Warner, I heard him say the other day he thinks this is the most important thing he's ever been asked to do in his public service. And, you know, for all of us, finding out whether there's a problem or not, and sooner rather than later, is the right thing to do. I think the president's put together a good national security team without General Flynn, and a lot of those people on that team have real concerns about Russia. And just because the president is trying to figure out how to talk to this dangerous power that's been an adversary of ours for a long time, there's certainly nothing wrong with that, just like there was nothing wrong with it when President Obama tried and failed to get that done. But every president has a chance here, whether it's China or Russia or Japan or other allies or adversaries around the world, to relook at how we deal with people that can do us either great harm or great good, depending on which relationship you're trying to build on.
I want to ask you about Neal Gorsuch, but let me ask you, one of the names being floated for the next national security advisor is David Petraeus. Would you have a problem if David Petraeus were to become the next national security advisor?
I would not. He's very smart. I'd feel like the president was getting good advice if he decided to make that decision. But there are a number of other good choices, and I think that they may turn out to be a better choice than General Flynn may have been, even without this problem.
Let me ask you about Neal Gorsuch, the nominee for Supreme Court Justice. I was doing a little looking back at history. Clarence Thomas had 11 Democrats vote for him, which we could argue was probably the most contentious, and there was never a filibuster for Clarence Thomas. These Democrats who are thinking about filibustering Neal Gorsuch, even though they're upset over Merrick Garland, you have to assume it's a little bit of sour grapes, no?
Well, my view of the Merrick Garland issue is that was a perfectly fine guy without what I would consider to be a good judicial record. But more importantly, this is the last year of a presidential term. Nobody has been confirmed to the Supreme Court in a vacancy that occurred in the last year of a presidential term since 1932. And in 1992, when the Vice President Biden was the chair of that committee, they stopped filling almost all judgeships. They didn't have a Supreme Court vacancy. But I was just sent an article by a friend of mine this week from February of last year pointing out that John Roberts was nominated to the D.C. Circuit in January of 1992, never got a hearing, and of course it's a decade later before he gets on the Supreme Court. They can be mad about this as long as they want to, but Judge Gorsuch is well qualified. He's a mainstream jurist who tries to apply the law. I think the best statement he's made that I like the best is a really good judge isn't happy with all of their decisions, because it's not their how that would boil down. It's not their personal view that leads them to a decision or what they think the law should say, but it's what the law and the Constitution does say, and that's the kind of judge that I think we need on the Supreme Court.
Last question for you, Senator Blunt. I know it's a very busy morning. I haven't talked to you since the inauguration, and it was President-elect Trump walking in, and then you were directly behind him. Have any of your friends mentioned that you are Zelig in every photo coming out of Washington, D.C.? You're somewhere in the background?
I am somewhere in the background. That's exactly right. I think, it was a great thing to get to be part of, and, we've done it 58 times in the entire history of the country, and to be able to play a significant role in one of those 58 times, going back to 1789, was a great thing to do, and to get to look out to the crowd that was there and get a chance to give a speech about the history of why it mattered to the 35 million or so people that were watching that live was a great opportunity, and I'm grateful for it.
Senator Blunt, you're always welcome here. Have a good travels, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you soon, buddy.
You got it. Senator Blunt from Missouri talking about, we had him scheduled, but with this Michael Flynn stuff, it was a great opportunity to get his insights into that. But he was saying,
interesting.
He was not shy about saying that he wants a full investigation of Michael Flynn and what do we know and
exhaustively.
And when do we know it?
What surprised me, though, is that he said if they did choose Petraeus as his replacement, he'd be okay with that.
Yeah. That was interesting, too. All right, 7:18. What do you want to do, Josh? You want to break? Let's break, and we'll do sports here in a second. 7:19.